So, as part of this topic, we will be looking at why do we require ethics in governance? What are the ethical problems that civil servants face as part of governance, and how to resolve those issues? That is what we will be discussing as part of our class now today. A very important topic from your examination point of view, ethics in governance. If you look at your ethics paper, almost every year in your section A, 3-4 questions are directly from ethics in governance. The questions can be direct questions like, why do we require ethics in public administration? The questions can be, how to promote ethics in public administration or governance. The questions can be, what are the ethical dilemmas faced by civil servants and how to resolve those dilemmas. The questions can be, what should be done to remove those dilemmas. So these are all the things that we shall be discussing as part of our small discussion on this topic, ethics in governance. To proceed, as you can see, if you look at it, why do we need ethics in governance? So for that we should start with what is governance. For those who are not familiar with administration, the technical aspects of administration, public administration, governance simply means taking decisions and implementing those decisions effectively. Why are you taking the decisions and implementing the decisions? With the objective of maximizing welfare of the people, with the objective of empowering the citizens, with the objective of bringing about socio-economic transformation of our societies. If you look at a country like India, a developing country like India, there are so many inequalities, starting with economic inequalities between the rich and poor, then inequalities related to caste, lower caste and higher caste, discrimination, untouchability, inequalities related to gender, inequalities related to ethnicity, race, religion, region, language, we name it, we have so many inequalities. It is the most important objective of governance that we should remove these inequalities and move towards what is called egalitarian societies. And for that, we definitely need ethics in governance. When the government makes policies and implements policies, when they take decisions and implement those decisions should always result in positive benefits for the people. This is possible only when those who are in positions of power have the right kind of ethics. That is what we say. And continuing with this, as you can see here, governance is all about creating institutions and ensuring their effective functioning. The entire democratic functioning of any country, any society is based on the concept of what is called rule of law. And the essence of rule of law, as we study in our governance, is separation of powers between the three organs of the state: legislature, executive and judicial. So when we talk about governance, we are talking about creating these institutions and ensuring their effective functioning. That is what we say, good governance. Good governance is all about ensuring that these institutions function in an effective manner with the objective of maximizing the welfare of people, empowering the citizens. You can have these systems for namesake. If they are not functioning effectively, they will not be of any use as far as citizens of the country are concerned. This is where ethics play a very important role. Why? Because creating institutions is very easy, but ensuring their effective functioning is the most difficult task. Why? Because as we study, as we see, these institutions, the legislature, executive and judiciary, they have been given extensive powers to perform their functions. And there is every possibility that they can misuse those powers, abuse those authority, and indulge in all kinds of excesses. That is where those who are in positions of power must have ethics. As I said, as you can see here, finally, governance is all about empowering the citizens of the country. It is not about empowering the people who are in positions of power. It is not about uh, creating elite sections of society. Ultimately, governance is all about only empowering the citizens. As you can see again here, all of this is possible only when those who are in positions of power have ethics, morals, and values. The basic problem with a country like India is its very, very weak ethical infrastructure. We have created these institutions as part of our constitution. We have created these institutions, as rightly pointed out by the founding fathers of our constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. If the constitution of the country fails, he said that if the constitution of the country fails, please do not blame the makers of the constitution. The blame should be squarely on the shoulders of the people who are responsible for implementation. The blame should be squarely on the shoulders of the people of the country and also on the shoulders of political parties. Political parties because they are responsible for running the country. People because they are electing those political parties to positions of power. And this is where ethics will definitely matter. Again, as rightly pointed out by someone, the basic problem that the country faces now is not economic crisis. Economic crisis can be overcome through economic reforms. Political crisis can be overcome through political reforms. But the basic problem is ethical crisis, moral crisis. Why? Because we are the only country in the world, I repeat the word, I repeat the sentence. India is the only country in the world wherein people believe that they can become rich, famous, popular and powerful by not working hard. Let us accept this. We don't have any ethical infrastructure. For those who are in positions of power, they always believe that the power should be used only to benefit themselves, should create more comfort for themselves, should be used to display more of that power to the rest of the people in the country. And those who are in positions of power believe that they should be ruling the people of the country just like the subjects to be governed, not as citizens to be empowered. That is the reason why again we require ethics in governance. Proceeding further, if you look at this absence of ethics in governance, what does happen? What happens with absence of ethics in governance? As you can see here, when there are ethics or morals or values in governance, automatically it results in corruption. It results in nepotism and favoritism. It results in misuse and abuse of power. It results in dictatorial decision-making process. It results in centralization of power. It results in complete absence of accountability mechanisms. Take the case of India at this point of time. In the Global Transparency Index, India's position is very, very bad. India is considered one of the most corrupt countries in the world. According to the recent report of some of the NGOs, India has the most inefficient and corrupt bureaucracy in all the South Asian countries. What is the reason why? Why? Because as Vivekananda says, knowledge without power. Knowledge without values. As Vivekananda says, at any point of time, Swami Vivekananda, he says that at any point of time, I prefer a person with a kind heart than intelligent mind, than intelligent brain. Why? Because there is every possibility that intelligent person can always use his intelligence, can always use his IQ to deceive other people, to exploit other people, to indulge in corruption. On the other hand, a kind-hearted person will always look to help people, will always look to sacrifice his self-interest for the sake of others, will always look to help others without expecting anything in return. That is the reason why we require ethics in governance. If you look at it, at present in India, we have capitalism and we also have knowledge-based societies. And what is the problem with these knowledge-based societies? The problem with knowledge-based societies is that People reach positions of power on the basis of their knowledge, on the basis of their intelligence, on the basis of their academic performance, on the basis of their skills, but definitely not on the basis of their morals, values, and ethics. A good human being does not automatically become a successful human being in knowledge-based societies. On the other hand, a skilled human being will always become a successful human being in knowledge-based societies. And when those people reach positions of power, when they become either bureaucrats or politicians or businessmen, what do? They use their knowledge, they use their skills, they use their intelligence to exploit others. If you look at it again, in all major cases of corruption that we have seen in our country, all those people were highly educated. Some of them, who were involved in massive levels of corruption, who were accused of massive levels of corruption, were lawyers from legal profession. They knew exactly what is legal and what is illegal. Then they ruthlessly manipulate the loopholes in the law for their own benefit. Similarly, those who are in administration, bureaucracy, civil servants, they also use their knowledge to exploit and manipulate the rules and regulations, ultimately indulging in corruption. This is where we talk about ethics in governance. As someone was asked rightly, what is the most important quality a civil servant must require for him to be successful in the field? The only quality that is required is empathy. If you feel the sufferings of other people, nothing really matters. You don't require knowledge of constitution. You don't require knowledge of civil services rules and regulations. You don't require knowledge of the functioning of the government. You don't require knowledge of economy, history, or geography. What is required is only you need to have a good heart, good and kind heart. This is what is required. As we have mentioned just now, this absence of ethics or morals or values, it can result in corruption, nepotism, and favoritism. That means you are taking decisions and you are also implementing the decisions. What happens? As a district collector, you have been given power. You have been given power to decide allocation of houses under various schemes of the government. If you don't have proper ethics, proper values, what do? It results in nepotism and favoritism. As a district collector, you have to give contracts running into hundreds of crores of rupees. If you don't have ethics, you will do so only for your people who are close to you, your relatives or friends or known people or anyone else. And then you will also indulge in what is called misuse and abuse of power if you don't have ethics. You will use the power for your own benefit, for the benefit of people who are known to you, for the benefit of your companions, for the benefit of the politicians, because politicians will help you to again reach top level positions. This kind of unholy nexus is what we have seen in India for a long period of time. This started in 1970s. Slowly, denigration of Indian societies started in 1970s with the retirement of what we call the first with the retirement of those politicians who participated in the freedom struggle, the first generation of politicians. And from 1970s onwards, both the politicians as well as bureaucrats had only one objective, that is how to benefit themselves through governance, because what is lacking in them is ethics. And then we also see a dictatorial decision making process. From 1970s onwards, India has witnessed what is called charismatic authority, charismatic leaders reaching top level positions. They do not believe in a democracy. They do not believe in good governance. They do not believe in participation. They do not believe in accountability. They only believed in dictatorial decision making process. And what it has done, it has completely broken down the edifice of our bureaucracy. because they believed that only those bureaucrats who are loyal to them should be reaching top level positions. It has adversely impacted the efficiency of our bureaucracy. Why? Because complete absence of ethics in governance. On the other hand, if you look at bureaucrats, what happened to the bureaucrats? Bureaucrats also have realized very fast that if they follow rules and regulations, if they if they are very honest, there is every possibility that they will be punished by the political executive. So they are more than willing to dance to the tunes of political executive for those positions of power. As you can see here, there will be too much centralization of power. As someone rightly pointed out, as Second Administrative Reforms Commission has rightly pointed out, 21st century in India is still governed by 19th century rules and regulations. Those 19th century rules and regulations were created by the Britishers to exploit the citizens, and we are still continuing with them. Why? Because we don't have ethics in governance. And normally this is what we study about a good leader. A good leader is the one who shares or who gives credit to his followers when something good takes place. And he should be the one who takes responsibility for any kind of failure. As you can see right now within our political establishment at the central level, the government will take all the credit for any successful implementation of any scheme. But the moment there is any failure or a challenge, immediately the government blames everyone else except those who are in positions of power at the center. This is not what a leadership should be. The problem is, again, as I said, there is a complete absence of ethics in governance. Next, this absence of ethics in governance also results in complete absence of accountability mechanisms. You can see now, thanks to, unfortunately, this corona crisis, so many people are dying without oxygen. India is not a poor country, for God's sake. India is not a country in a African continent, black continent, dark continent. And these people are dying in the heart of India, Delhi, capital of the country. In the capital of the country, just people are dying because of a lack of oxygen. And who should be made accountable for it? The Chief Minister says that he does not have any real power. He comes onto the television screen and says that he does not know what to do. The Prime Minister talks about protocols. The Health Minister is completely absent. There is no accountability in the system. Who should be made accountable for this criminal negligence on the part of the state? Who should be made accountable for the spread of this second wave of corona? There is no accountability in the system. Unfortunately, in our country, accountability is only related to elections in the form of voting in elections. Once this voting is over, for the next 5 years, those who are in positions of power believe that they are dictators. They believe that they are above law. This is what happens when there is no ethics in governance. Next, proceeding further, what are the ethical concerns that influence governance? What are the ethical concerns that influence governance? So, whenever the governments take decisions and implement decisions, the question that we are asking here is, what are the things that they should take into consideration? The first and foremost thing, as we say here, is, as you can see here, is that decisions of the government should benefit maximum number of people to the maximum possible extent and for the longest periods of time. This is the most important thing the government should take into consideration while taking any decision or implementing any decision. This is what is given by one of the important political philosophers, Bentham. This is what he said. And this is what we call welfare maximization principle. Whenever you face an ethical dilemma as a civil servant, as a politician, as a person who is in position of power, what kind of a decision you should take? Of course, this is what Mahatma Gandhi also had spoken about beautifully. He said that Mahatma Gandhi, whenever you face any kind of ethical dilemma, please remember the face of the poorest person that you have come across and see whether the decision taken by you will benefit that poorest person or not. That is what you should look into, you should take into consideration. For example, nowadays what we find in our country is that every political party is indulging in this rat race of giving more subsidies. Give subsidies, more subsidies, and attract the people, because people are innocent, because people are they lack awareness. They don't realize the fact that the subsidies will only cause harm to them. As I have seen one of the iconic photographs of this corona crisis. On a single bed, 3 patients were there. On a small bed, 3 patients were there. And as someone has rightly pointed out, why did this situation has come up? When the government gives everything free of cost to the citizens, this is what is going to happen. The governments are not spending anything on education or health. They are giving everything free of cost, everything else free of cost to the people. Give everything free of cost to the people. Don't focus on infrastructure, either social or physical. And people will always remain poor. That is where this ethical concern should influence that governance. Whenever you are taking a decision, make sure that it benefits maximum of people to the maximum possible extent and for the longest periods of time. If you are constructing hospitals and if you are constructing schools, if you are constructing roads and if you are improving irrigation, if you are improving marketing facilities and storage facilities, it would benefit maximum number of people. It would create employment for people. It would remove their poverty. It would empower them from all possible dimensions. This is where ethics should play a very important role. On the other hand, what you can see is that whether it is a central government or a state government, on the other hand, what you see is that huge amount of increase in the revenue deficits. Because every government, whether it is central or state, all is only interested in coming out with new schemes, fancy schemes, gigantic welfare schemes to attract voters. Voters, people do not realize the fact that if they are getting a rice at 1 rupee per kilo, when the market price is 43 rupees, they are paying 100 rupees for petrol when the cost of production is only 32 rupees. Why do these things keep on happening? Because, as we have said just now, there are no ethics in governance. Simply, we don't find ethics in governance. Everyone is interested in their own self-interest. What we call it as self-aggrandizing behavior. They are only interested in benefiting themselves. Political parties, they know that people lack awareness about governance. They know that people cannot question them because of their illiteracy and backwardness. They know that people are emotional and sentimental. They know that people vote in the name of subsidies and corruption. You give on giving them. Let it do any kind of damage to the economy, no problem, as long as they are able to win elections. That is the reason why we say again ethics in governance becomes important. Next, as you can see here, in case of conflict between individual self-interest and societal welfare should always be given importance. These are all the ethical concerns, ethical dilemmas that we face. So what we are saying here is that as a civil servant, as a person who is in position of power, whenever you are taking any decisions, you always face ethical conflict. That is your own self-interest and a societal welfare. What ethics will teach us, what ethics will guide us is that you should always give importance to societal welfare. Why? Because you are a member of the society. I'll just give you a small example here to explain the things. You are a district collector and you are giving a contract for construction of a flyover. If you take bribes and give contract to a person who is not well versed with this, and the flyover is constructed, tomorrow you will be traveling on that flyover, you will be driving on that flyover only. suddenly it collapses and you will die also. Accident, it collapses. That is the reason why you should always give importance to societal welfare. There is every possibility, as we study in Hindu philosophy, karma theory, you have to pay for your mistakes. Even God cannot help you if you commit crimes and mistakes. That is the reason why you should always give importance to societal welfare in case of a conflict between self-interest and societal welfare. Next, for a civil field servant, conflict between what is good for the government and what is for the good for the society always results in ethical dilemmas. You are a civil servant, you are a district collector. The government asks you to do something. The politician, the minister will ask you to do something. And what he is asking you to do something is against what is needed for the people. Because politicians, their interest is to make money. Their interest is to win elections. And they will ask you to do something. This is when again you face ethical dilemma. What should you do? Should you go by what the minister has asked you to do, which is unethical, immoral, as well as illegal? Or should you reject the direction and the order of the minister? This is the ethical dilemma you face. That is when what you have to do is that you should always put the people above the government. Put people above the government. The government today can come, it can go tomorrow. You are a permanent civil servant. You will be there for 35 years. And what you have to do, you should always make sure that you are putting the people above the government. Government is elected by the people for the people. So obviously people are above the government. You must have the courage of conviction to say no to the political executive and to reject the illegal and immoral orders given by the political executive. This is what another dilemma that you face. Next, there will always be conflict between short-term political populism and long-term sustainable growth. Those who are in the government should always give importance to long-term sustainable growth than short-term political benefits. I gave you the example, subsidies. Since independence, successive governments have deliberately as well as consciously ignored long-term sustainable growth for short-term political populism. As I said, this started in the 1970s when charismatic leadership in India started these populistic slogans like Garibi Hatao, which only resulted in the country becoming much more poorer. Why? Because they gave more importance to redistribution of wealth rather than creating wealth. They give more importance to providing a short-term subsidies rather than creating infrastructure. The country is paying the price right now. As you can see, health infrastructure in the entire country has completely collapsed. People are dying because of absence of basic health facilities. So this is where the problem is. This is where we need to. This is where we must focus on. This is where we must focus on long-term sustainable growth. People should not be tempted. This is where the civil servants play a very important role. Why civil servants play a very important role here? Because of the fact that they have to provide unbiased, meritorious and rational suggestions to the political executive. Because they are a permanent executive. They don't have to get themselves elected after every 5 years. They can go and tell the political executive what is good for the people. This is what you have to do. How to overcome these ethical dilemmas. Yes. Next thing is that decisions for the government should always result in more transparency, participation and accountability. This is what we call good governance. Whenever you face an ethical dilemmas, you must always look up to what is called good governance. You should always ensure that there is good governance, that there is participation, transparency and accountability. Next, the quality of development is more important than the quantity of growth. As you can see here, $5 trillion economy, it is worthless unless we increase the per capita income of the people. So what is more important is the quality of development. Are we able to provide better food to the children, good education to children, provide productive employment to young people, provide provide better social benefits to old people, increase health care for the entire country, protect the ecological systems, reduce environmental degradation. This is what is more important than economic growth. What is the point of constructing more flyovers? What is the point of increasing the GDP? As you can see, during the corona crisis, we have witnessed a paradox. The income of the billionaires in India had gone up by leaps and bounds, whereas per capita income had come down. That is not the kind of growth that we want. We want a growth which is equitable and inclusive. And as a civil servant, you must do those things. For that, you require ethics. As you can see here, finally, a civil servant should always give importance to honesty, service orientation, selflessness, integrity, and among other things, while taking decisions and implementing those decisions. This is what we call, ethics in governance. I hope this short discussion should be helpful for you in writing answers as well as having conceptual clarity. In our next class, we will talk about another important topic related to ethics. Till then, take care of yourself. Thank you.